This is a PokePress special report. Hi, I'm Stephen Reich here at the PokePress PIRN Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm on the phone with Troy Lesky, who attended, along with myself, the recent Pokemon Black and White Mall Tour stop at the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. So, Troy, first of all, you were there the same day I was on Saturday. I went by myself, but you actually brought a bunch of people with you. How many people did you bring with you, and what was that like traveling together like that?
Well, there was a total of 9 of us that went. There was a few that were from the Rockford, Illinois area, a few that were from the Madison, Wisconsin area, and then myself, my family, and a friend of ours from the La Crosse area here. And we do a lot of traveling as a group as a whole when it comes to the Pokemon events, whether it be the tournaments like the trading card game or, in this case, the release of the Black and White. And we find a lot of good camaraderie and a lot of fun traveling together. It makes things a lot more interesting.
All right, and have you ever been to the Mall of America before?
I have been there probably a handful of times, maybe a half a dozen times.
Few less for me. Actually, the last time I went there was for the Pokemon Rocks America 2004, so it'd been a while for me. So what was your first impression when you got into the mall? Where'd you go first?
Well, we knew about where things were going to be as far as from the website, where they said that it would be in the certain areas of the mall, so we kind of knew where we were going to start off with. Of course, anytime you walk into the Mall of America, it's huge, so you're a little overwhelmed by the size and the amount of people there, but we had a rough idea where we needed to go, so it wasn't too bad.
All right, so they had basically these 4 or 5, depending on how you counted, stations set up. There was an information booth near the entrance, which is, you just got a little booklet. What was in that booklet?
The booklet had some brief information about various parts of the new games coming out. It also had some descriptions of some of the new characters coming out in the new game, and it had the place for you to get your stamps put in there when you did the stamp scavenger hunt, if you will.
Yeah, it's actually somewhat similar to something the Pokemon people do in Japan every year with the Tokyo subway system. It's obviously a lot fewer stops at the mall, but
yeah.
In any case, they had a bunch of stuff set up there. One of the places is actually they have a little miniature Pokemon Center store that has, mostly they were selling apparel and a few plushies. What kind of stuff did they have there, and what did you pick out for yourself?
Well, they had the T-shirts, of course, a few different T-shirt choices that you could choose. They had several of the plushies of the new characters, and, of course, everybody's favorite, the Pikachu. And they had a few smaller action figures and that kind of thing as well. We just picked up a few plushies to get some representation of the newer characters. Being as my kids are older, we don't do a lot of the toy end of it, if you will. But it's always nice to have a little mascot, every now and then. So we picked up a couple of plushies.
Yeah, I picked up Zorua myself. I actually kind of like Zorua more than I like Zoroark so far, at least. The big thing probably was over on the other side of the mall. They had the demo experience, if you will. So basically what would happen is you would wait in line, and then they take you into this place where there are these 4 TVs side by side, and they showed you this video. What was in that video?
They gave you a brief overview again of some of the more significant characters that are coming out in the newer games, for example, like the Zoroark, as you were talking about. And it gave you a little description of them, their names, talked about them a little bit. Some of the new areas that are going to be in the games, some of the changes versus the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and back, giving you some insight to the new games, new things you can do, and new places you can be.
Yeah, as I recall, it was actually it was a little awkward, I think, because they had 4 screens, but they weren't like 2 by 2; they were 4 by 1 lengthwise. So it was like watching a 64 by 9 screen. So usually what they would do is they would subdivide it so that you'd only have to watch 2 of them, but sometimes it did stretch across all 4. It was kind of an interesting choice, and I actually have to say it got me kind of excited to see what was next. So after you watch that video, then they lead you through to the area where they have the DS units that have the demo versions of the game. What was your first impression when you saw the game in person?
Well, I think, as with most other video games, I think the graphics are improving, and I think the interaction between the player and the game has improved. I'm not a huge player of the video games. I do have a few versions of it. The newest one I have is, until today, was Platinum. And I don't spend an overwhelming amount of time doing it. However, my kids spend a fair amount of time doing it, like, with their friends and everything. And they seem to be pretty excited about the game. So I guess I would have to give you my impression would be their impression of it, and they seem pretty stoked.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement over even Heart Gold Soul Silver, which just came out last year. The animation is much more present. The camera is more dynamic. I'd actually compare it somewhat to the difference between, say, like on the NES, Super Mario Bros. Versus Super Mario Bros. 3 in a lot of ways. They're both technically on the same hardware, but the later one definitely shows a lot more polish and a lot more new ideas that went into it. So that was really cool. And then after you completed the demo, they gave you a little pin. I think there were at least 2 different ones, because I know that for the 2 legendaries in there. The demo, what was in the demo? Do you remember?
To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. Again, I was in the middle of the game. I did one small battle where I was given the Tipeg versus the Snivy, I believe it was. So it was kind of, real heavily in my favor to do one fire attack versus a grass Pokemon and be able to win the match fairly easily. So I didn't see a whole lot of it, and with the amount of people they had trying to get in and out of there, it seemed to me it would be a better deal just to, kind of, okay, here's the game, here's how it works, it looks really good, let's move on and get more done. And as you know as well as I do, with the lines the size that they were, it was a good idea to keep moving to try to make sure you got everything done that day.
Yeah, as I remember, what the demo was is you walked through this path that was set up for the demo, and you went through a couple battles, and it got you the basics and stuff. I actually thought at one point there was a mistake in mine because I switched Pokemon to Zorua. And at first I thought it had made a mistake because it had the other Pokemon's name, and then eventually I realized it was actually Zorua's ability. So,
yeah.
I thought I had caught a bug in the demo, but it was actually it actually had, I guess, fooled me, so to speak. So after that, there were a couple other attractions. There was an area where you could get character photos with the new starters. They had some of those up for people to get their pictures taken with. And then later in the day, I walked around that area again, and they had they were showing a couple episodes of the TV show, Black and White. So that was kind of neat after the photo ops had kind of died down. The other main attraction is, for the first time, let's see, for me, it's been about 8 years I got a chance to see a Pokemon movie in an actual movie theater, which was pretty cool. So what you did is there was a limited number of tickets, but it was free. So I actually camped out sort of and made sure I got a ticket for the first showing at 10 a.m. and so I would be able, because I had heard at other events that they would run out because there's only a limited number of tickets available. Which showing did you end up going to?
We actually ended up going all the way back to the 2 o'clock showing, and the reason being is with the large group that we traveled with, we would seem to get there right at the end of the previous showing's tickets and only be able to get a handful for a group of 9. And of course, you don't want to send 3 or 4 of you at a time to go to each showing. So we ended up at the 2 o'clock one to guarantee that all of us got to go together.
And it was an interesting experience. This is the last time, 8 years since I've ever seen a Pokemon movie in theaters, but actually since the last time I saw it with a bunch of Pokemon fans in the audience, probably is about 10.5 years since the Pokemon movie 2000, because for the limited release ones, 4 and 5, there weren't too many people in the theater watching it with me, unfortunately. So I actually thought this was a fair bit of fun. I don't think anything's ever going to beat the movie 2000 experience for me, but it was really neat being in the theater with people of all ages, older people, younger people. It was interesting hearing people's reactions to the movie and having them laugh along with some of the stick that goes on in the anime, and it really added something to the movies that I think you kind of lose when all you can do is watch them on TV or on DVD. I think that the shared watching experience really does add something to it.
I would have to completely agree with you. I mean, look at the large group we traveled alone. I mean, spending that much time with your friends of a group of our size can make a difference in your experience versus just a few of you. And then you put 75 to 100, I believe it was the size of the theater they had. It's just that much better. And I got to add that I agree with you 100% as far as the audience in general laughing along with some of the various characters' little pleasantries that they had in the movie. This is probably only the second of any of the Pokemon movies I've watched in its entirety from start to finish. And I've got to say that this movie versus any of the other ones that I've actually watched, where the characters really kind of had their own more personality than I think they've had before. You know, Zorua, for example, had an amazing personality for a cartoon, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
Oh, definitely. I think that's probably perhaps the best character in the movie, certainly of all the non-regular characters. And then after you see the movie, they actually give you out a jumbo promotional card. It's kind of funny. It's Zorua and Celebi combined into a single card, and they have it's not tournament legal, which is actually probably a good thing because its attack lets you switch places with your opponent, and then you play the game that way for the rest of it. It's kind of silly, but it's kind of interesting.
You know, I got to tell you, over the years that we've been involved in the trading card game and things, at least, it was always fun to get the giant promos like that, and almost made you wish they would make them that large. It'd be kind of a fun little novelty to play a game with cards that are the size of a sheet of printing paper. But I thought the promos were really, really nice, and we're very glad to have them. We ended up getting 4 for our family, as there's 4 of us. Usually we only keep 1 of each promo, so it was one of the things where we kind of made sure we got all 4 of them to be able to bring them home to the kids that go to our league and things that weren't able to go to the event in the Minnesota there, so we can kind of share some of them a little bit, maybe give some kids a free promo at one of our tournaments, handing out as a door prize so somebody gets excited about getting one.
Yeah, and what else did you do at the mall? Did you buy any stuff? I had some birthday presents, some belated birthday presents I had to get. What else did you do at the mall?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Anybody that goes to the Mall of America and tells you that they didn't buy anything, even if they're there for a specific event, I don't think they'd be telling you the full truth. I mean, there's literally anything you want to buy pretty much is going to be in that mall. From I understand is you can go to college there and you can get married there, and everything in between. So we of course we had our meals there. Of course we had a few medical needs when we were there, so we had to take care of those things. But in general, it's you're there for a special event. You don't get that way that often. It's nice to hit some of the specialty stores and pick up some things you can't buy at your regular malls in your area.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Troy. I'm glad to hear that, like me, you had a great time there. And if they do one of these again sometime in the future, I hope we get a chance to go, and I hope a lot of the listeners get a chance to go. This has been Stephen Reich from the PokePress PIRN Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, talking with Troy Lesky, who, along with myself, attended the recent Pokemon Black and White Mall Tour event at the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. This has been a PokePress Special Report.